Hey everyone! So in this video, I'm going to talk about 10 new ideas for using the yearly layout in your planner. Sometimes yearly layouts can become kind of boring and dull, and so I have some ideas for you as far as maybe new ways of using it. But first, let me introduce myself really quick in case you don't know me. My name is Tiffany. I'm a project manager by training in the corporate world, and I am a human design reader in the woo world. I met Spider-Man and Jason Momoa on my wedding day several years ago. The day we got married, Comic-Con was in town, and so it just made sense to hang out at Comic-Con and then get married. I am still obsessed with planners, journals, and notebooks. I'm super excited about the final season of Ozark coming out this week in January 2022, and I'm currently working on a manifestation-focused planner, and it's actually a digital planner, but I'm wanting to turn it into a print planner as well. All right, so the first idea I have for you in terms of using your yearly overview layout in your planner, track financial goals at a high level. So you could track the amount of money you saved each month and just write the number you saved. You could track the amount of debt you paid off each month. So say you paid $500 on debt, maybe you write $500. You could also track your current debt balance. So if you're on a debt-free journey, just tracking your current debt balance over the course of the year and seeing how it goes down over time. You could also track the amount of money you've invested each month if you're somebody who likes to invest. And then also you could, if you're saving for a very specific goal, like a down payment on a home, you could also track how much you're saving each month and how much is earmarked and going towards that specific goal that you have. Idea number 2, so you can use the yearly overview to track high-level milestones for any goals that you have set for the year. So for example, if you're on a weight loss journey, you could track the number of pounds you've lost each month. You could also just write your current weight each month on the same day each month and write it down here. And ideally, you'd be watching that number go down over time. If you have any fitness goals, you could use it to track milestones for that. So for example, maybe you want to write the number of steps you've done in a month. Maybe you want to track the number of calories you've burned in a month. Maybe you want to track the number of days you've worked out in a month. Sometimes people have goals around learning new skills, so you could track the number of courses you've completed, the number of hours you've studied, or the number of books you read. Sometimes people have goals around reading, and so you could track at a very high level the books that you've read in a month, and maybe even the titles. And then lastly, my suggestion on this one is if you're somebody who's interested in building a social media following, you could track and write down the number of social media followers that you have each month and see how that develops over time. The next idea I have is using your yearly overview layout as a mini priority list for the month. So if you're somebody who really doesn't like to work in your planner every single day, maybe daily and weekly layouts are just too much for you, and you prefer to have a forest view of what's going on, you could just use the yearly layout to write down the top 3 to 5 things each month that are your priority. That way you can reference them later. Idea number 4, use your yearly layout as a reference for natural events that are important to you in your life. So some practical things might be documenting when time changes occur, such as daylight savings time, hurricane season, if you live in a place where maybe you have those kinds of events happening. Also, if your career or your hobby really involves nature, maybe there are trends that are associated with that profession or that hobby that would be beneficial to have tracking at a very high level. If you're a woman, you could also track your cycle and just kind of have that be a way that you keep track of the dates of your cycle. Also, eclipses. Sometimes people like to know when eclipses are, or even meteor showers. On the woo side of things, I would say that you could document the full moon dates and names. If you do any work or energy work around the moon, you could also track Mercury retrograde or any other kind of planet retrogrades that might be happening and you could also track when the equinoxes are. The next suggestion I have is tracking and planning for expenses that occur either on a quarterly, semi-annual, or annual basis. So, things that fall under this category that we often forget about that are going to hit, like maybe it's memberships, like Prime membership happens once a year, for example. Insurance premiums happen once a year, often. Auto registration, anything you pay on an annual basis to save money, that is definitely something you could track in a yearly overview so that you can remember when that bill might be coming due. So your yearly overview layout can also be useful for tracking annual, semi-annual, or quarterly appointments that you might have throughout the year. So thinking more along the lines of medical appointments for humans, such as vision checks or other wellness visits. Also, don't forget about checkups for your pets, and annual vaccinations can also be tracked here. The next idea I have is to use the yearly layout as a high-level monthly reflection or gratitude journal. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to do daily reflections, or it's just not your jam, but maybe you do want to capture some of your favorite memories or some things that you're grateful for over the course of the year, this layout might be the place to do it. The next idea I have for you is to list your kid weekends at a glance. So anyone who's lived in a blended family situation knows how crazy things can get, especially when it comes to schedules. And especially if both parents have kids and those kids have separate schedules that they have to see the other parent or other family members. And a lot of times it's really helpful to have the dates. You could either choose to write the dates that the kids are gone and who's going to be where, or you can choose to write the dates where there will be no kids in the house, and then you know that maybe that's a great night to just chill or have a date night or something like that. My next suggestion is use your yearly layout as a high-level seasonal reference. So if you're a gardener, for example, maybe you want to know when you need to plant certain flowers in your yard, or maybe you're documenting when you planted certain things. So it could be used for planning, but it could also used for tracking and knowing when things were put in the ground. You could also use the yearly layout as a very high level to track seasonal foods that might be available and coming in, like fruits and vegetables, just for planning menus. Again, you can't use it to get super detailed with menu planning, but you can know when certain fruits and vegetables are going to be available. You could also track seasonal events as it relates to travel. So for example, synchronous fireflies happen every year in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. That could be something that maybe you want to write on your yearly planner, so you have that reminder that, hey, I want to try to get to Gatlinburg to see these synchronous fireflies, and I want to see what that's all about. There's also times of year when certain festivals are happening at certain parts of the country. So definitely the seasonal reference can be super handy. The last idea I have for you is super woo, and basically you could use your yearly overview layout to pull a card, a tarot card or an oracle card, or whatever divination of your choice, as the theme of the month at the beginning of the month, so you can kind of get a sense for the theme of the month. Or at the beginning of the month, you could also set the intention for the month with one of those things. So that is all of the 10 ideas that I have for you, and I hope that this video was at least somewhat helpful to you.